Hi everyone, welcome to our new session on our EWC community. I'm Lakshmi. I'm a friendly expert recruiter dedicated to solving hiring challenges and connecting top talent with companies to build their strong teams. Today, I'm thrilled to kick off the series with Ishmeet Singh Sethi, who is joining us as an engineering expert for elevating your resume to secure interviews. Ishmeet is a seasoned senior software engineer from Microsoft, and he is here to share his valuable insights on your resume, on how to get interviews to get job offers. So, Ishmeet, it's an absolute pleasure to have you as our expert speaker today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. And I'd love to connect with your community and help as much as I can.
Okay, thank you so much. Today we will be diving into crafting a polished resume, how that can boost your chances of landing interview calls. And as we all know, a resume is our personal brand. We should definitely showcase our experiences, and how we demonstrate our future potential is very, very vital in an interview to get multiple opportunities. So let's start. Ishmeet, would you like to start from the tech perspective? Like, what are some red flags and important pointers we need to keep in mind while creating a resume? And I will go ahead and share my screen and share a resume so that we can, we can definitely go deep dive having a
Yeah,
sample in front of us. Okay, so
definitely.
let me share my screen. As we said, let's start from the text perspective. So, what are some red flags or any important pointers we need to keep in mind while creating a resume? So, we have a sample here on about Ramesh Kumar, and
Hmm.
yes. So, and then I can follow on more pointers from the recruiting perspective.
Absolutely. I think so. Looking at this resume, from a technical standpoint, so I feel what we really need to highlight to companies is, how much impact we have as an engineer, how much impact we have, had on the overall business. Most people just think that most engineers think that, just talking about buzzwords would make the resume stand out.
Mhm.
But that's not 100% true. It does help, but you also need to show your impact. So, going on, talking about this resume that we have in front of us. Coincidentally, I'm also an iOS engineer, and this is also an iOS developer resume, so it's kind of very relatable. Um, First thing I feel is, and Lakshmi, you're the expert here, so correct me if I'm wrong. I feel that professional summary that we have is too big. It's taking a lot
Mhm.
of space and can be condensed probably
Yes.
in half of the space. Um, and I see they have used a lot of you know jargon like different uh, design patterns like MVVM, Viper, solid principles. um, so one thing that I really talk about with my other mentees as well, that when you are mentioning all this stuff, make sure you also mention where you have used it, which might be there in the following sections, but just highlighting since I see it in the professional summary. So saying that decent knowledge of MVC, MVVM, clean architecture is probably not most compelling way to talk about your experience in those areas, right?
Right.
So if you have let's say good MVVM experience, you want to say like you led the development of this app
Mhm.
using the MVVM architecture, which led to scaling of that app
Okay.
to a certain point, etc., etc. And coming back to the measurable impact, I feel that the professional summary does not have the measurable impact, captured there. So, for example, they just talk about the task that they did, and they
Mm-hmm.
talk about more about, you know, the 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 process they used. By process, I mean the type of architecture or any technical services they used. But I think highlighting impact is really important. So impact can be highlighted in a different ways. For example, if you are an iOS engineer, you can say things like, this app had this many downloads in
Mm-hmm.
the App Store and it received the, let's say 4.2 rating, 4.7 rating, and so on. You can talk about how many users you built the apps for. Um, that's also showing impact. And then not all features that we work on are user facing. So we can talk about how much impact we have had in terms of technical debt. So, for example, improved the latency of a certain feature by 3 seconds or by 2 seconds. When you talk about this, small numbers at scale makes a huge difference. So I think that is missing from the professional
Mm-hmm.
summary.
Okay.
Maybe that should, we should show the impact uh, at the very first place. And then moving on to, their
Yeah.
work history, if you can scroll down a bit, I see a similar pattern being followed there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't see a lot of impact shown in terms of, you know, something tangible, measurable numbers.
Okay.
Um, you don't want to talk about basic stuff. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
in the second page, first line, it says applied Apple's Swift development language to code native apps for iOS platform. I think this is something that's by default given for iOS engineers. So iOS engineers, they are supposed to work using Swift. So this is a default requirement. This is not something that you should highlight.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And resume is more like a real estate, right? You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
waste any part of it talking about things that don't value as much. Similarly, on the right side, in the first page, where we have skills, um, it talks a lot of things about, which are probably not very crucial. So, for example, parsing techniques, web services, dependency manager. So these are some pointers which are by default are should be known to any software engineer,
Okay.
right? For
Mm-hmm.
example, most people don't use XML these days to parse the data. This is a legacy thing now.
Mm-hmm.
JSON is the default way to use
Right.
things.
Mm-hmm.
REST web services are the default way to go for backend development. And dependency manager in case of iOS, CocoaPods and Swift package manager are again the default tools that you use. So it's pretty much given when you say, you're iOS engineer, these are all the things that you would obviously know. These are very obvious. You don't really have to highlight them again because I feel the resume is your real estate and
Mm-hmm.
you should make use of that real estate in a very intelligent manner so you don't waste any space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you can put your best, version out to the companies.
Okay. Anything else you would like to mention? Yeah. Add up.
Um,
Add up.
in terms of certification, I don't think these are relevant.
Right.
Like LinkedIn skill assessment
Mm-hmm.
badge. This is probably, the most basic form of
Basically. Mm-hmm.
test that LinkedIn provides and
Yes.
doesn't really add any value in terms of
Yeah.
certification. And I
Yes.
feel generally overall, talking
Mm-hmm.
about software engineering industry, I I personally have not seen a lot of benefit of certifications. Unless you are in cloud, unless you
Mm-hmm.
are, let's say a Scrum Master, unless you have that, specialized
Yeah.
skills which cannot be taught in school.
Right.
Um, those certifications might matter, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel as a software engineer, it's usually not relevant. Similar
Okay.
in this case, I don't think these batches are really relevant to be put in a resume.
Okay. Okay. Okay, great. So, other than this, I do have a few more questions to ask you, like, related to this resume. So, in terms of experiences, like, is it fine to go beyond 5 to 6 bullet points? Because I do see a lot of them sharing some 10, 12 bullet points. What do you have
Yeah.
to say about that?
Um, I think it depends. So if you're, let's say if you're a engineer, you have worked
Mhm,
at place for let's say 3 years or so, you might have done bunch of projects. You don't have
mhm,
to put all of those projects there. from a technical standpoint, right? You
Right.
might just have to put like your top 3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
best projects that you did. You want to
Right.
showcase the best of you. But sometimes, let's say I worked for a company for like say 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
or you built a startup, which was a case in my area because before Microsoft, I had my own startup. So I was serving as a CTO in that in my startup. Um, I had a lot to share from that because the the impact that as a in a startup when you have that impact, you basically accumulate a lot of things which are obviously a lot of them are very important because it's a small
Mm-hmm.
company, right? Um, so in those cases, it's okay to have maybe 7 to 8 bullet points, but again, you got to make sure is that you show your impact correctly and don't waste any real estate. So, for example, if you're adding 8 to 10 bullet points, you really have to justify, why you're adding that.
Yes.
You really have to make sure that you're not wasting that real estate. Um, yeah, if a person has worked in same company for let's say 10 years, they haven't really switched since they graduated. In that cases, we would see long sections of that experience because they only have one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, if in those 10 years you might have done a lot of stuff, that you
Right.
should highlight in the right way.
Okay.
So that's
Yes.
really important
Mm-hmm.
to put it the right way. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Just highlight whatever is impactful and which is important, relevant to the job that you're applying or the job that you've experienced in.
exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think about adding a professional summary? Like, and if you can elaborate on that, why is that important in a
Um,
resume?
I feel a professional summary gives a brief, like a breakdown of your experience
Mm-hmm.
uh, in a quick manner, like in 5 to 10 seconds, without reading all of your work history.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hiring manager can just if the professional summary should be done in a way that the hiring manager, if they read it in like 5 to 10 seconds, they should be able to understand your whole experience. It shouldn't be you don't really want to have it for the sake of it. It
Mm-hmm.
should really do the work that it's there to do so. um, you really want to show that impact. I believe that I have professional summary in my resume, and it's kind of talks about the highlights of my career in a very small space. So, but at the same time, I don't think it's relevant for people in early career stages
Mm-hmm.
because you don't really have a lot of experience to make some of those highlights. But if you have like let's say more than 5 years, 6 years of experience, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually becomes very relevant, and you can talk about your best work in those 5 6 years or more
Mm-hmm.
um, in that concise space.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your views on that one. And I equally feel summary is definitely very important because, from a recruiting perspective, we recruiters just take 6 seconds to scan a resume.
Right.
And if we feel they're the right person for the role, we just go ahead with it. The chances are that resumes are rejected because of the lack of relevant skills, as you mentioned. So make the summary as applicable as possible with the right skills, the right achievements so that you are visible, and definitely use the keywords from the job description to highlight the proficiency for the job that you've applied. Yeah. So thanks for giving us more details on that one.
Mm.
And so what do you have to say about engineers like who have less than 2 years, who just graduated a couple of years back? How do you recommend them to stand out, in this market, in this difficult market? How do they present themselves better in a resume?
Right. Um, so for people who don't have much experience, I guess what I did was personally was I worked on projects that I could showcase in the market without having a professional
Mm,
experience. For example, I built since I was an iOS engineer, I built two apps while I was in school, and I published those apps on the App Store, and I got real users to use that app. Um, and you won't believe my first job. They did not really interview me on technical perspective. They only um, asked me about some behavioral questions. And when I joined my first job, which was at RBC in Canada, they told my manager told me that we didn't ask you any technical question because you already had the app in the App Store, so it kind of
Mhm.
proved that you have technical skills and you were a fresher, so there's nothing more that we required from you. As much as I think that was an exception, it's not going to happen with everyone, but I feel that once you have those when once you start building in public and you have those presentable projects, um, not just the learning projects, but more like projects that you can have users on, like real users. You can deploy it on the internet and get some of the users. It doesn't have to be like millions.
Mhm.
Could be like even 100 users are good. um, so once you have that, kind of talks really well about your
Mhm.
your technical skills and your overall product skills, and it shows the companies that how well you can execute a product.
Okay. Okay. So, Ishmeet, your story is really inspiring. Building two apps during your school days and turning them into user driven apps speaks a lot about your skills and initiative. It's a great tip for new graduates or yet to graduate engineers to start building in public, and your work will speak volumes for you. Thanks so much for sharing your journey. I think I'll quickly wrap up. What do we look at from the recruiting perspective? Of course, the first thing is definitely if we just scan a resume in 6 seconds. So we do look at, are they the relevant skills, the achievements, is that visible in the summary? We see the summary. If we are very happy about it, we then go through the resume more in detail. And that's when we feel, okay, this candidate has the right skills that is needed as per the hiring manager, and we just go ahead and push this to the hiring process. Other than that, the first, so as I said, we look at 6 seconds. So definitely your first page is very, very critical because that is what it grabs our attention. Okay, so first is definitely the professional summary. Then it is the the contact details. So they have to be very concise. Definitely no addresses, no full addresses needed, just the email, phone number, and maybe a hyperlink of GitHub and LinkedIn. That is very essential on the header. We definitely look at impact, as you mentioned, impact of work that you have done. That's very, very vital in all the experiences. So the 5 to 6 bullet points is more than enough. And if that can convey, well and good, you are selected. Okay, so that would be the second point. Other than that, we have seen that many of the candidates do not mention LinkedIn profile links, like, they are not correct. So please double check if your LinkedIn profiles are correct. And, sometimes we click the hyperlink and, it's not there. We get an error and it's not available. So please, candidates, do check your LinkedIn profile links if they are correct. Okay. And in terms of pages, we definitely look at resumes. Should be from 1 to 3 pages. So one page resume, definitely the best. If you can put everything concise and simple and very neat with the impactful words that's needed in a page, well and good. But if it goes beyond 2 and 3, it's okay. Max would be 3, I would suggest. Okay. Um, Other than that, as you mentioned about skills and certifications, definitely they are handy. And certifications, of course, the one which are something like you have a cloud certifications, those. So that is important, which have to definitely be mentioned. So that
Right.
is very essential. And In this resume, we did see that they have it kept it very messy with two columns.
Right.
So I would
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, we missed this one. So we would definitely want it to be in just one column, not two columns, and it's going to be very difficult to pass on ATS too. So it's better to have a single column resume. So you
That
don't
was
miss out
actually
any.
something
Yes.
I was gonna ask you.
Yes, yes, yes. So we don't miss out on those information, when you after you applied and you go through the ATS. And when we view as a recruiter or a hiring manager, and all your
Right.
information is in front of us. Okay, so that's very,
There are
very
also
good.
I've seen some resumes where people have their photographs as well.
Oh, yes.
We don't want
Yeah,
that, right?
please. Please, no photographs. Yes, we don't want your photographs on your resume. And other than that, of course, yes, most of the resumes we do come across, there are spelling errors. So definitely proofread your resumes, avoid spelling errors. It doesn't give a very good picture to the recruiter or the hiring manager. Okay. And other than that, what I can think about would be use a very, very easy format. Don't complicate it. Make it neat and easy. Even if you go with a traditional format, it's fine. What is necessary for a job? If you can, display that on your resume, that's more than enough. Okay. And you did mention about quantifying the accomplishments. And of course, you did talk in detail. So I'll not cover those now since you did give more in terms of examples too. Thank you so much, Ishmeet. And the education, yes, it should definitely, education section should actually only include the degree, the university name, and dates and location. That's more than enough. More or less in one line, it comes. It can be fitted in a line, so that should be more than enough. We don't have to go too much into detail explaining about that. Okay, other than that, is there anything else that I'm missing?
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so there's one thing that I've seen when people are preparing for job applications is they have like multiple resumes for different
Mhm.
positions.
Okay.
Um, so what do you think about that? Like, do you suggest having like a master resume and then taking bits and pieces for each job you apply to? Or do you recommend just using the same resume everywhere?
So, there are a lot of talks on this. Basically, yeah, what I would suggest is definitely have different resumes. I know it takes time and to personalize a resume, but it's more or less, better if you can personalize it for every role. I know we may not have the time, but then keep maybe one resume for a software engineering, one for a backend engineer. I meant for a full stack engineer, one for specifically for a backend engineer where we are focusing more on
Right.
that. So try to personalize it. That's
Hmm.
definitely
Based on the job. Yeah.
based on the job. Yes, based on the
Right.
job
Okay.
would be better. Yes. Is there anything else? Okay, we didn't mention about uh, accolades or achievements. So we definitely have to, if there is one column mentioning about achievements, if you can highlight that, would be definitely a great positive feedback for us. Like anything in terms of like you have received an employee of the month for some
Right. Makes sense.
accomplishment. Well and good. That's a very great positive pointer for us to look into. So don't uh, you know don't self-reject yourself if you're of mentioning these. So please do go ahead on that one. Yeah, I think I'll stop here. I think more or less we have covered everything.
Yeah.
Let me share the final, let me share your resume that we have in front of us. Yeah,
Okay.
just a moment. Yes,
I
yeah.
hope you
So,
feel it's a good one.
yes, it is. It is. It's covering everything. You have quite everything in place, like in terms of the summary, the GitHub, LinkedIn, hyperlink. Everything is covered very neatly in terms of the highlights, skills, experiences, not going beyond 5 bullet points. And yeah, everything looks good actually. Education, yes, yeah. Maybe, this header, probably, it's not, uh,
I
this
think this,
copy.
oh man, this, I think this might have messed up when we converted
Yes,
it from PDF to Word.
yes, PDF. Yes,
Um,
yes. It could have been
so
messed up, but everything looks fine. If this is something, I will definitely go ahead and, mark it up and, send you send you an invite to schedule for a screening call. So definitely you'll be getting a call from me if this was the
awesome.
thing. Yes. Hi, Ishmeet. So, we are coming to the closing of the session now. So I would definitely want you to talk more about your ebook that you have to offer for our candidates, for our
Of
audience.
course.
Mm-hmm,
Of course. So I recently wrote an ebook to talk about, how to get an interview in a FANG company,
mm-hmm,
and how to prepare for those interviews, and how to crack the FANG interviews. So it talks a lot about system design, data structures, algorithms, and also a little bit of behavioral and resume. So things that we discussed here are also part of that ebook. So if someone likes, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have the link of that on my LinkedIn profile.
okay.
They can buy that ebook from there. And yeah, I also do top mate sessions very
Mm-hmm,
selectively, not a lot, but sometimes I do with
okay.
people who really need it.
Okay.
So people are free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or top mate.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes. So please, audiences, please do connect with Ishmeet on LinkedIn. He does provide a lot of great content all around relevant topics to cover for an interview preparation. So, and you can also meet him up, you know, see him on TopMate, so in order to get any guidance or coaching or mentorship services. So finally, so thank you so much, Ishmeet, for this
Thank you.
invaluable insights that you've offered today. I'm sure our audience, our viewers will definitely find this session incredibly helpful. If you enjoyed learning, please, something new from this video, don't forget to like, share, and follow this page. Everyone Who Code page and the YouTube channel so that others can benefit too. So, audiences, we do have more expert sessions coming up, so stay tuned. And if you have any questions or topics you would like me to cover next session, please do drop them in the comments below. Also, sign up on our website, everyonewhocode.com, so that you don't miss out on networking events, insights from engineering experts like Ishmet on any critical topics, any open jobs, and more. Also, follow us on YouTube channel, The Friendly Recruiter. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep learning and keep growing. Bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you.